It's been a minute since I did an RPG horror story, and it just feels like an RPG horror story kind of day. This one is a little special only because I haven't actually finished reading it. I read it about a third of the way through, and I decided I just wanted to give a pure reaction. So I know the setup. I don't know when exactly the horror begins, so I'm pretty excited. This story is titled, Ever Have a Game That Went Too Well? I did, and now my players are upset with me. God bless. Just the setup of a game went too well and now everybody's upset. You just know this is going to be tasty. The story begins, I recently bought the Fallout TTRPG and was excited to play it with my friends. Let's call them Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo. We all set out time and place to host a Session 0 as the game uses different rules and mechanics than what we're used to with D&D 5e. I also discovered that, aside from Charlie, who tried Fallout 4 years ago, most of my friends had never played a Fallout game and only understood the setting through cultural osmosis. This meant, on top of explaining how to play, I was also going to my friends' official introduction to Fallout. I myself am a woman of culture, so of course I know all about Fallout. That came out sounding sarcastic. I have played Fallout. I enjoy Fallout. With all that in mind, I cobbled together a setting and story. I decided I'd have my players start out as vault dwellers to give them a matching character and player surprise to discovering Wasteland. The sentence was structured oddly. And what would Fallout be without its vaults and Vault-Tech's many, many horrific experiments inside said vaults? Of course, I could start my friends in a control vault, but where's the fun in that? After a lot of brainstorming, I decided this particular vault's experiment would be twofold. First, homosexuality was not only accepted and encouraged inside the vault, but heterosexuality was outright illegal and punishable by prison or even death for repeat offenders. This social shift would be rationalized by the absolute need to control the population as to not to overexhaust resources, and all children were born through in vitro fertilization. Except that is only the setup for the experiment. In truth, Vault-Tech had robots tucked away that were secretly manipulating the genetic codes of the dwellers' eggs and sperm to see how far a human genome could be pushed and still remain viable. This would be the reason that the players could have maxed out stats, weird quirks like green hair, or just be ungodly ugly. Okay. I want to read this novel. I would like this game master to create this story, please, because that sounds fucking interesting as hell. To get the players into the Wastelands, I planned 2 possible events based on how Session 0 would go. If my players wanted to have a more lighthearted beer and chips kind of game, a highly popular performer would suddenly escape from the vault in the middle of the night and the players would be selected to go out and rescue/return said performer. Session 0 finally rolls around and we start all testing the rules, building characters, filling roles in the vault, and explaining the story, themes, and concepts. Before I go further, a bit of necessary introduction for my friends. As I mentioned earlier, my friends and I played 5e on and off before, so we're no strangers to TTRPGs or role-playing. Out of the 3 pillars of 5e, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie enjoy an equal balance like myself, with a favoritism for role-playing. Delta and Echo lean hard into favoring roleplay above combat. Same! And exploration, but are okay with them on occasion. My friends also prefer open sandbox games over modules or linear stories, as they don't enjoy feeling like they're forced to do things their characters wouldn't do. Same. With all that in mind, I explained that they would eventually have to leave the vault for one reason or another to enter into the Wastelands, and about how the Fallout Wastelands are filled with starving beasts, insane raiders, and other dangers. So while I can limit the combat and random fights, they will still be inevitable, to which they all say they're okay with it. Next, I asked them if they want a more laid-back kind of game or a more hardcore setting, and they didn't hesitate to go for the former. Lastly, I explained life inside the vault, how their lives generally went, and the struggles and problems their characters were used to, as well as the atmosphere inside the vault. Out of the 6 of us, Alpha, Bravo, and myself are straight, Charlie is bi, and Delta and Echo are gay. They are all also willing to be open about their sexuality and sexual history once they get to know you. The vault life setting presented definitely surprised them since I'm the most prudish out of our lot, but they were more than happy to get started. I'll admit, once Session 0 was over, I was curious as to how they would react to a world like the one I described. Would Alpha and Bravo rebel against being punished for who their characters loved or how they normally lived? Would the Charlie, Delta, and Echo stand against the punishments of any straight characters and NPCs, or would they reflect the prejudice they receive IRL? Would they bring the Vault's prejudice with them into the Wastelands? Once Session 1 officially started, my friends immediately took to Vault life. Alpha was a doctor, Bravo was a chef, Charlie became a maintenance technician, Delta a performer, and Echo was in security. Everyone was given chances to play with skill sets, action points, and the D20 system. I was open to letting them have as much fun with flings, one-night stands, and whatever else they wanted to get up to inside the steel tomb of the vault. While I never allowed any actual ERP, as role-playing every encounter would have taken all day, and I imagine would have been a little uncomfortable, but not my table, not my game. Charlie, Delta, and Echo were excited to freely be as open about their characters' love and sex lives as they wanted, and Alpha and Bravo were more than happy playing out their lesbian fantasies. Out of the 6 of us, Alpha, Bravo, and myself are straight, Charlie is bi, and Delta and Echo are gay. At the end of the session, the atmosphere of the vault had become that of a free love society, so long as it wasn't between a man and woman and didn't interfere with vault work. And while I did have Echo and Charlie stumble across two breeders exchanging kisses once, they simply looked the other way. Nice, good. I ended the session by having the vault's star performer give one last grand concert in front of the entire vault. Needless to say, everybody was super hyped for session 2. Obviously, no problems yet. Everything seems to be going really well. Everybody seems to be having fun. I really didn't get much further than this, so again, I haven't seen where the horror comes in, so let's go! As the players wake up in beds not their own and are fighting off hangovers from the after-concert party, they discover the entire vault abuzz as the star performer has gone missing. And it's even rumored that they went outside the vault. But how can that be? Where would they go? The vault's been closed and sealed for hundreds of years. How did they get out? After talking amongst heartbroken fans and confused friends about the situation, the Overseer announces that the performer did indeed leave the vault. And that the Overseer was going to choose a select group of individuals through lottery to form a rescue party. And you can guess which lucky 5 individuals were selected. Can I just say, I know we haven't gotten to the horror part yet, but this seems like a fucking awesome game. I'm actually jealous. Like, that sounds so fun. Like, this DM is really good at creating a scenario. Like, I'm just like, and admittedly, I'm a fan of Fallout, so that might be like, a big part of why I'm like fangasming over here, but this sounds super fucking fun. I'm really sad to hear that it's gonna go badly. And here's where everything went sideways. All my friends said no. I was thrown for a loop, scrambling to get things on track. I had the Overseer implore them to the importance of the moral inside the vault, the necessary service the performer was doing for the vault, how it was their duty to help in a time of crisis, blah, blah, blah. Again, they said no. Each of my friends gave in-character reasons as to why they didn't want to leave. All right then, player agency and all that. If they didn't want to leave, they didn't have to leave. Willingly. Oh no. Okay, before we get into this, I have to say, I'm not totally sure where I stand on this. I mean, it kind of feels like you'd have to get out of the vault, but maybe not. Is it still taking away player agency if you manipulate the situation to where they're going to have to leave the vault? We must go on. We must continue forth. We cannot stop here. We must learn what happened. The rest of session 2, the vault was completely depressed. Work wasn't getting done. People argue and rage at each other for the slightest irritation. Some had to be literally dragged out of their rooms to perform their daily duties. They could hear the performer's songs on loop behind closed doors. Posters of the performer were either turned into funeral memorials or vandalized. The players themselves were looked down on. How could they abandon the performer? How could they be so selfish? Didn't they care about the performer? Etc., etc. Honestly, I have to say, that is a fucking amazingly creative way to try to push the players into doing the thing. And again, I'm not really sure yet where I stand on trying to make the players do this specific thing. But yeah, I mean, that's a realistic thing that would happen in their kind of scenario, you know what I mean? Needless to say, my friends weren't at all happy with me by the end of session 2, especially Delta and Echo. They all felt I was unfairly punishing them for the actions they chose and that they shouldn't be bullied into playing in a way that they didn't want to. I explained that they were right. I was being harsh on them, but it was a consequence for their choice. The overseer told them how important the performer was. They were also aware of that fact given the various pictures, NPC chatter, and the giant concert at the end of session 1, how important the performer was to the vault. And since they had chosen not to leave the safety of the vault, their fellow vault dwellers viewed their characters as having openly abandoned the vault star. I also reminded them back in session 0, and I explained to them that the plan was for them to leave the vault, and they all agreed that they were okay with that. Begrudgingly, they agreed to turn back time and go after the performer. Nope. They made their decision, and I said I was going to respect their choice in session 3 if they would give me a chance and if they still wanted to play, to which they all reluctantly agreed. Now, personally, I'm not really a fan of the whole turn back time thing, especially if you've done an entire session seeing the consequences of your actions. That's what makes D&D fun. There are consequences to your choices, and the DM respected their choices. He didn't just like try to TPK them because they did something he didn't want them to do, and he came up with a really valid, creative way to give a consequence for the choice that they made. It doesn't feel to me like it's well, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, therefore I'm going to punish you. Like, no, like that feels like actually what would happen if, you know, the star of the vault went missing and they were randomly selected, people to go venture forth and rescue or find this person. Like, I can understand the community rallying against them, and like this, basically what I'm trying to say is this makes sense to me. Like, I don't really understand the players. I'm kind of siding with the DM on this one. So let's just keep going. I don't know. Let's see. Session 3. It's been several days now since the performer left. The overseer had sent out a different team. Oh no, no. Life was returning to the vault slowly. Delta and other smaller performers within the vault tried to pick up the slack for the star or take their place, but struggled to be accepted as a replacement. I would imagine so, especially since one of them outright refused to go after the other performer. That's the kind of thing that would make a performer just be ostracized. Half of the vault was in a deep depression, with Alpha having to fix a few suicide attempts. Jesus. Charlie had to pick up the slack of their fellow workers as they didn't see much of a point in continuing without the performer. So that kind of feels like the performer has a bit of a god complex going on. Like, I mean, there's being sad that someone you admire, look up to, and care about has vanished into the wasteland, but is it reasonable to think that people would be wanting to commit suicide over it after, like, what it says several days, so I mean, like, not like that's weird. I don't know. I don't want to. Is that weird? That's weird. Where did I go? And the overseer gave a mandate to Echo to lock up any and all weapons, chems, alcohol to prevent more problems. Again, there was almost no sex for the players. When did you say there was no sex for the players? That's like the opposite. Okay, so I guess they're not getting laid anymore because they refuse to go after the performer, which I guess, fair enough. Making the session boring for everyone. Oh no, we can't fucking boink everybody, so now every session is boring. This caused some of my friends to say that they didn't want to play since they weren't having fun anymore. I pleaded with them to give it one more session. I promised it was going to be much more fun and interesting in the next session. I still don't know how I feel about this, because it does kind of feel like he's making everything doom and gloom and depressing. But that was still all based around the choice they made. He didn't retcon anything that they did or like try to kill them for it, or I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. Session 4. A few more days had passed and people have moved on. My players are finally getting their groove on again with the other residents, although there's still a few who outright refuse them because of their decisions not to leave. My players finally began to start perking back up and getting into their roles again. After another few hours of play and more in-game days, everyone is about back to where they were in session 1. Until that is, they hear a loud grinding noise coming from the vault door. Then, blam! The vault door explodes off its roller and the vault suddenly becomes a wash of bullet, blood, and death as crazed humans in tribal-like armor pour into the vault, heralded by a hulking suit of black power armor, wielding a minigun. Oh no! He is killing them as punishment. I gave the players one objective: escape alive. Now we're going into the territory of I'm just gonna fucking kill all of you if you don't stop complaining. I mean, does it not feel that way? I mean, because I guess, but how else, if they're still at this point resisting going out into the wasteland, I guess how else Are you going to get them out? Now their objective is get out or die. Well, remember how I said my friends, especially Delta and Echo, were upset about being called out for not voluntarily leaving the vault in session 2? Woo boy, were those two absolutely livid. I'm shocked. I had betrayed their trust. They got attached to their characters in the vault, and I was just burning it all because I didn't like them having fun. No, he's burning it all because you're not having fun with the consequences of the choice you made. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole, Aaron?
I would listen.
I don't think I'm the asshole. I was killing their characters because I was spiteful. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to read that way. I called it. I was ruining a place they could be happy. I was bullying them into playing a certain way against their will. I was a terrible GM. I was a terrible friend. It went on and on and on. God damn. Calm down. Lighten up. Nothing I said reached them. Arguing was drowned out with angry shouts and slurs about being a homophobe. I'm sorry? I'm just looking for where the fuck that came from. How in the hell is that a thing? Where... I had never seen my friends that legitimately angry at me before. Even Alpha and Bravo were miffed about what had just happened and were completely taken aback by the outburst. Charlie ducked their head and got out of the crossfire. It's been a few weeks, and while I'm on speaking terms with all my friends again, Delta and Echo refuse to play another TTRPG with me ever again. This seems like there's more to this problem than what we're getting. Because I'm not saying it's wrong or bad that they got upset about what happened. But this seems like a touch, like a smidge of an overreaction. It sounds like the DM tried to do right by what you wanted, while also making the game work. I mean, what did you really expect to happen? Did you just expect... I mean, I guess it could be reasonable to expect that the game would just continue inside the vault and you could, like, deal with vault conflict instead of going out into the wasteland. So I guess in that way, maybe they felt like the DM was being pushy. Even so, it feels like an overreaction. Looking back, I do see why Delta and Echo were angry. I had unintentionally made a safe space for them to be opened, appreciated, and accepted, where they could be as much themselves as they wanted to be and could be. It wasn't that they didn't want to venture into the wasteland, it was that they didn't want to leave the place they felt most comfortable. But on the other hand, we had all agreed to play a certain game, and my players had decided without me that they wanted to play something else. While it was their decision to stay in the vault, a decision I upheld, there was also no game or story if they stayed. To me, it was as your 5e group suddenly said they wanted to be blacksmiths and refused to go adventuring, but still expect you as the DM to run a compelling, story-driven campaign. I also wasn't okay with endlessly flirting with my friends until they all felt satisfied or got bored. Was I in the wrong for having raiders attack the vault after my friends were opposed to leaving on their own in session 2? Or is it okay for me to feel like my friends blew the game's events out of proportion? I mean, we're still friends, it just hurts to see somebody you know and care about get so angry at you. I mean, it's complicated. I feel like it's not really very respectful of you as a DM either, though. Especially because it kind of sounds like they were just using you to play out fantasies of, like, sexual nature. And there's no reason that they couldn't still have felt comfortable within the confines of your game just because you were leaving the vault. I mean, yeah, they were having fun in there playing out these fantasies as you described, but I don't know. Seems like overreaction all around. This reminds me a lot of playing Dragon Age Origins for the first time, or it may not have been the first time, but it was definitely the first time I played through the storyline as a human character, as a Kuzlin, and you're in the castle with your family, everything's awesome until you and probably should have said spoiler alert. You mind if I spoil Dragon Age Origins? If so, skip ahead to right here. So you get betrayed by the person your family trusts, he slaughters your family, and the game basically says, Damn, that sucks, but you can't do anything about it because you're getting conscripted into being a Grey Warden and suddenly fighting this other battle that has nothing to do with anything you've been experiencing for the last several hours of gaming. And I didn't like that. I got so mad that I just quit playing the game entirely. I know that that was before I became like a deep Dragon Age fan. I eventually did pick the game back up again and ended up loving it. But the point is, that's where the game was. Like, you didn't get a choice in becoming a Grey Warden or not. And even though I threw a hissy fit about it, I mean, that is, at the end of the day, where the adventure became the adventure. So, you know, you do have the difference between that being a video game with programmed things that you literally can't get out of and being a, you know, tabletop game where, you know, you have all the control. So in that sense, there, I mean, it's different. Like, I mean, he didn't have to, the DM did not have to go about, you know, burning everything down to have a game. The Dungeon Master definitely could have created a game within the vault itself, but I can't see there not being negative consequences to being the select few chosen to venture outside the vault and bring back this really important person, and it not having negative consequences within the vault, within the community that you have. I think this probably could have been solved by just like directly communicating about it beforehand. When I say communicating beforehand, I don't mean session 0 communicating, because they did that. They explicitly state that they said they were going to have to leave the vault. So that was already a pre-established thing, which is something you don't even get in a lot of D&D games. What I mean when I say communication beforehand is communication before deciding to just straight up burn everything. I think I'm going to have to lean on the side that the players are more the asshole in this situation. And I definitely don't want to end this on a, I don't know where I stand, very lukewarm, very boring, wheat toast stance. But I think mistakes were made on both sides. But maybe I'm wrong. Please do comment and let me know what you think of the situation. Was the DM the asshole? Were the players the assholes? Was everyone here an asshole? Who do you think was in the wrong is basically what I want to know, because I don't know. I can't tell. I think that everything here could have been handled a little bit better. Well, that's the end of that one. Sorry it ended kind of weird. In the future, I think I'll probably read the whole thing before I turn the camera on. I just thought having a pure unscripted reaction would probably be a lot of fun. So let me know if you liked that better, or if I should, you know, prepare better before I turn the camera on. I'm about to go and prepare our home for Snowmageddon Part 2. So send good thoughts our way for that one. Also, holy cow, there's 400 of you now as of this morning. Oh my god, that's amazing. Thank you all so much. You are the best, and I love you. And I will see you next time. My next video will almost guaranteedly be my review of The Gamers. So look forward to that, because I'm super excited about it. And I will see you next time.
Be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me.